Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. Most folks don't know this, but my favorite segments to do here all these years later, it's been 27, 28 years doing radio, are the ones I do with the people that I've known since before I was on the radio. This guy was my friend, Jerardi. Tell everybody how tall I was and how round. Was I wider or taller when I was 15 when you met me?
I would say it's a dead heat, Nestor, between wide and tall when you were 15 when we first.
I was 4 feet tall and 4 feet wide. I'm holding this up. Sports First was the place we met. I'm holding the Sports First pin up, and I know Rasig is going to appreciate this. This is how small this pin is. I couldn't even wear it as a lapel. That's how tiny it is. But Sports First and the News American, Dick Jerardi and I made a lot of mistakes when we were young men. And he is now at the longtime Philadelphia Sport. How many years did you spend in Philadelphia? 30?
I'm still here. I worked at the Philadelphia Daily News for 33 years, wrote 7,000 stories.
That's all.
I took a semi-retirement back in December of 2017. I still wrote maybe half 100 stories for the paper last year.
Well, the one problem with that, you've been in Philly 33 years, and you and I still have never been to the Palestra. Although I did look online. I almost went to a game with the Palestra a couple weeks ago. It didn't happen. It's another year. Are they ever going to tear it down? I mean, am I ever going to be worried that I'm not going to have a Palestra to go to?
It'll be there. There's no chance that will ever get torn down. You're fine.
Okay, good. So it's better than Memorial Stadium, as you're telling me.
You can take a train and walk 5 minutes. You get off the train at 30th Street Station. It's not that complicated. Get up here.
All right, man. You just need to, next year when a schedule comes out and you figure out the right day when you're going to be there. Because people don't know, and I have sort of forgotten, the whole Philly tough thing has gone to State College. You've been on the State College beat. The Penn State beat our ass last week. I forgot to call you. And then over the weekend, I saw some horse racing, and something reminded me, oh, yeah, Jerardi calls Penn State games. I should get him on. So I'm calling you more about Maryland than about horse racing or Bryce Harper or anything else that's going on in Philadelphia. But in the case of Penn State, let's just start with this. Maryland has gone from, maybe feeling good about themselves to not lately, and Penn State contributed greatly to that. And as much as Penn State's been choppy, ask Michigan and Maryland how it went on a sleepy night at State College at Bryce Jordan, right?
Yeah, it's been a bizarre year. They have lost 9 Big Ten games in the last minute, including the first game of the Big Ten season, which was at Maryland back on December 1st. But in the games that haven't been close, like the one with Maryland last, whatever it was, they hammered them. I mean, just crushed them, and so they're getting better. I would say this for Maryland. The game did not mean all that much to them. They were kind of locked in, and I think they were stunned at the beginning of the game at how much better Penn State had gotten over the 2 months. And by the time they recovered, the game was over. I don't think that's a true bill on what Maryland is. It's just one of those days where whatever could go right for one team did and vice versa.
Well, you say they got nothing to play for. Neither does Duke on any night, but they show up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so that's fair. That's fair. I mean, it just was like they had nothing. I mean, I saw the quotes from Mark after the game, and he said, look, even games we've gotten beat, we didn't just we showed up. We were there. They just weren't there that night. So I don't know what that was all about.
Calling you to get a Maryland look, you're no good for me. I mean, you didn't even see, they barely rolled out of bed. I mean.
Yeah, look, I've watched them enough.
Of course you have.
I got a sense of what they are. I mean, I like their freshmen a lot. I think all of them are good, but they all have some deficiencies in their game. Bruno's probably the most improved player in the Big Ten. Callan's not having a great shooting year, but to me, he's always kind of a big shot guy. And he's a good late game guy. He wasn't good yesterday, but he wasn't good against Michigan. But typically, he is good. So I can't get a great read on where they're going to go, but I do like their team. I think they're solid.
I don't want to have them play next Thursday. I mean, you guys are getting into Chicago nice and early, and most thoughts you'll be out of there. But Penn State's one of those teams that they're going to go into a sleepy United Center, and no one's going to be there, and they're used to that sort of. Clearly at home, they're used to that, and you're used to that.
Yes, they
that
are.
There is a part of no lights, no camera. The other team falls asleep. Certainly, Maryland fell asleep against Illinois up in New York at Madison Square Garden. Rolling out of bed. You can't get out of bed and go into the Garden awake? What's wrong,
Yeah, no, that would be, and that suggests too many freshmen playing key roles for Maryland. But I do think that It looked a lot better than I thought they were going to be. I mean, last year's team was unwatchable by the end of the year. I mean, I think that was addition by subtraction with some of the guys that weren't there anymore. And like Bruno looks a little tired to me as well. He does not have the same jump he had even a month ago. But that happens a lot in early March, and then teams get a second win for tournaments. But yeah, they probably played themselves out of that Friday game at this point. They're probably going to have to come and play on Thursday for sure at the United Center.
Dick Jerardi is here. I don't know what this is, long-time Philadelphia Daily News, but as much as you call games for Penn State and hang out in Philadelphia and celebrate Eagles Super Bowls with your kids, I don't know how you raised them that way. Are they little Bryce Harpers too, or they got their little number 3s going on in their bubble peas? They're all into that now?
They're in their 30s, man. They grew up with like the Randall Cunningham, Reggie White Eagles, and that's when they became fans. They're not real followers of the Phillies, and my suspicion is neither one of them knows Bryce Harper just signed with the Phillies. I don't think they're following it. But to your point, if you were taking it out to the nth degree, I've lived here that long. I'm a Baltimore guy.
I know you are. I know, but the Phillies coming back to life, and that may speak to civics a little bit, right? Like the fact that these Boston teams all compete with each other. Chicago and New York, it's been that way from the beginning. Obviously, the Lakers, Snoop's giving his suite away for $5 now out there. Everybody's down on them. But in Philly, to see the Sixers sort of try to ascend here, to see the Flyers 45 years later, and I love that they never win, and I know you do too. But the Eagles just won. Boy, the Phillies had to do something, and the owner clearly seems to be a relatively magnanimous fellow who is sort of into this thing in an old world sort of way. Like, he kind of wants to win. He's like an old competitor kind of guy, and that's not a bad place to be because we don't have that going on here in Baltimore,
No, obviously not. No,
we got 2 kids born on third base and think they hit a triple. You know what I mean?
I am aware of that fact of what's going on with the baseball down there for sure. So here's the deal. The owner... as like it's crazy money, like we're talking with a B. So spending money is not an issue for him. And if you remember from maybe 2007 to 11 or 12, the Phillies were one of the 2 or 3 best teams in baseball.
Sure.
But they only won the one World Series. They probably were talented enough to have won 2 or 3, but that's just the nature of playoffs. Sometimes you're just not going to get there.
Well, they did what every team does. You go all in and you buy a bunch of old guys, and then Ryan Howard hits 158 like Chris Davis is doing right now.
Roy Halladay gets, he's pitched out. He can't pitch anymore, and Cliff Lee isn't the same player, and then you're out. So they've been bad for a while, but what they did was sign a gigantic local TV contract here. I'm not sure how many years ago. And it was just a question of when they were going to get back into spending. And it didn't make any sense to do it before this season because they just weren't good enough. They could have brought in a great player like Harper, and it wasn't going to make any difference anyway. But they've brought in a lot of new players in addition to Harper, and now they're obviously going for it. And I know the feeling up here is in 2 years that Mike Trout might want to come back home. He's a South Jersey guy who's an Eagles season ticket holder, and if you put Trout in center field and Harper in right field, I mean, you got 2 of the better players in baseball, plus a young pitching staff. Aaron Nola is one of the best young pitchers in baseball. They think they might have something again, and they might be right.
I realized that around 2:45 in the morning when I was very, very inebriated. It was 20 below in Minnesota, and I walked over to the corner of the Eagles victory party. There's Mike Trout sitting there drinking a beverage, and I'm thinking, a little bit of that going on.
Yeah, he sits in the end zone. He's got seats right in one of the end zones. Like a lot of times when the Eagles will score touchdowns, they'll run over to Trout and give him a football. So I'm sure he's got a lot of footballs. But, yeah, he's a very much of a Philly sports fan. And if they don't start figuring out how to win something in Anaheim, obviously Trout's going to get all the money from whoever he signs with in a couple of years. I think there's a realistic chance he might come and play with the Phillies.
Well, that is the pipe dream up there. It's still a baseball town, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Dick Jerardi joining us here, longtime scribe of the Philadelphia Daily News. If I were to say that you were from Towson, is that fair, or should I say Ridgely? So, what should I say? What's real home for you?
Well, Towson is fine. For people that know Rogers Forge, I grew up in a little neighborhood right next to Rogers Forge called Armagh Village, right off of Bologna Avenue. That's where I grew up, and it was actually it was a 212 zip code, even though I was in the county. But I always kind of tell people Towson because that was kind of the closest town to where we lived.
All right, man. Let's get on to this Pimlico, Preakness, horse racing thing. I didn't call you about that, a little basketball, and here we are, and Mayor Pugh's down trying to save the race. And I don't think I've said a word about it. I'm sponsored by Laurel. They run their entries here, and they do. And I don't talk a whole lot to South, and I don't know. I know everybody doesn't get along in the family. I know they've tried to change it. I thought the Preakness would have been gone here years ago, Dick. I mean, every year since I've had a radio show, I think I'm 28 years in, you've done radio with me or someone at my station before the Preakness, after the Preakness. I think I've seen you physically. We've hugged at 15 Preaknesses, over the last 30 years. So, I mean, we see each other there. At some point, we're going to drive up there, and I have a feeling it's not going to be there. I don't know if I were the mayor, I were the governor, I don't know what the case to be made is at this point, other than some crazy pie-in-the-sky thing that'll cost billions of dollars, but may or may not reinvigorate horse racing. The reason the baseball stadium got built is people cared about baseball. I think if they had to build the baseball stadium all over again, Dick, it wouldn't get built because people don't care about baseball here anymore. I just watched them move a team out of the city into the suburbs in Atlanta when I was down there for the Super Bowl. So, I wonder about that, but it's the cart, the horse, the race, gambling, slots, the nature of horse racing, where they are, the money, the purses, the state, all of that factors into this. And this state has screwed up horse racing for 3 decades, right? I mean, so that's part of it. And then there's Canadian owners, and it's very, very sticky. No one knows more about it than you, so I'll just let you take it from the top. But this is the time of the year where we talk about it again, right? Every year.
Yeah. No, I mean, all of what you said is accurate and true, and it is very complicated for a variety of reasons. Look, I've known Sal Sinatra, who runs the Maryland Jockey Club, which is Laurel and Pimlico. I've known him for years. He was up here at Parks in north of Philly for years as the director of racing. Good guy, a good
Great
manager,
guy.
and somebody that everybody down there that knows anything about horse racing should be proud to have as a guy who's running the place. But look, it's complicated because Pimlico has this incredible history going back for forever into the 19th century. The problem is it's 2019. The facility is untenable. It's been that way for a while. So what the Stronach people have basically said is, look, we are not going to put our money into a facility that really the only way to make it right is to level it and start over again. And we have another racetrack, 30 miles, 40 miles away, however far Laurel is from Pimlico, and we're going to put our money into that, which is what they've done. And down the road at some point, and they'd obviously rather have it sooner than later, we're going to try to move the Preakness here. But yet I understand where Mayor Pugh is coming from, because it's a huge economic moneymaker for the city of Baltimore, and it's a source of pride. Look, the Colts left. Do you want the Preakness?
So you say that it's a big source of money making. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I live here. I live in the city.
Yeah,
it's not the way it used to be. It's not what it. The pride. I'm all for the pride. I'm full of pride. I'm still prideful for the skipjacks, for crying out loud. But I don't think it's a business. You know what I mean?
Come on,
and the Clippers.
I go back to the Clippers.
Gilles Villemere. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Jim West, my man, calling the Clippers games back in the day.
George.
Look, I can't argue money or not, but certainly hotel rooms are sold and people eat at restaurants and all that. And I don't know, it's still going to be in the state. It's not like they're leaving for Indianapolis. They're not running into Preakness in Indianapolis. That's not going to happen.
Well, I think that's why everybody in the state has a thing about ganging up on Baltimore anyway. It's black, it's white, it's right, it's left, it's Trumpy, it's not. It's all of that. And people don't seem to and I'm launching, you don't know this, Dick, because you and I haven't talked, but I'm launching a completely politicized, not sticking to sports site called Baltimore Positive. I'm going to be doing this in the next 8 weeks. It's been out. I'm going to be talking a lot about local politics and what's going on here. And, when the city dies, everything dies around it. And if it's ceremonial and it's, we don't really run races in Baltimore. We just run one of them. And to your point, hotels and restaurants. Yep. I live in a hotel. I live downtown. I lived here 16 years. I can promise you the Preakness weekend is just another weekend in Baltimore. It's not. Well, I would say not that like with lacrosse. Yep. I would say that with a U2 concert may have a little more juice. You know what I mean? Like I know when the city fills up, and the Preakness doesn't do it anymore. It's not Clydesdales and Bud Light nights and concerts at the Harbor, and we stop everything and we crab race, and everybody takes Friday off, and it's the Oaks and 100,000 people. It's not that, and I wish it were.
Right.
I wish it were.
Right. Yeah, and I think one of the things, and I think this potentially could be a mistake on the Stronach Group's part. They want to be the Derby, and they're not going to be, because there's only the Derby. There's one of them. There isn't anything like it. There never will be anything like it. But they see what Churchill Downs has done, and they've done an amazing job of getting every last dollar out of that event. As you mentioned, the Oaks is Friday. They get 125,000, and Louisville is bursting at the seams. Louisville's not nearly as big as Baltimore, but you know the Derby is there that week. You know it. It's everything. They would like to find a way to do that for the Preakness and make more money out of the only thing that does make money. I get that.
Well, the pink party's been interesting. You're here on Friday, right? So the pink party's interesting, and it's something to build on. But it needs to be built for the city, for the region, not come on out to the racetrack and we'll do a nice turn for a charity event. The city needs to, everyone needs to take the day off and embrace it, take the weekend off and embrace it. And Dick, it's not part of the culture anymore. And you know what? And baseball's not a part of the culture anymore. And you haven't been here 30 years, and you'd find that hard to believe. But I don't ever walk into a room where anybody knows a lot about baseball anymore. It's just people don't talk baseball. They don't feel it. And that's I've done this a long time, and it's I don't know. Baseball would have a better shot than horse racing in that way, but I don't want to lose the Preakness. I'm proud. I'm prideful. But then I see the bill, and I say, well, what can be done? And if you're the Stronachs, what do you expect them to do?
Yeah, from a business standpoint, what they're saying makes perfect sense. You can't really argue. You can't put money back into Pimlico. It's just not repairable. It's just a building and a place that's just too old, whereas they've already done it with Laurel. Some of the issues I would question about Laurel, if you want to hold a big event there, there's no infield. So there's a lake out there, so you can't do anything about that. So that's different already, and it's not. I've been there recently. They've done a great job of upgrading it, but it doesn't have. It's not a similar facility to Pimlico. I'm sure they've thought it through what they would try to do with it. They'd have to make a lot of changes. Getting in and out of there is very difficult. You're not in a big city. It's just a couple of roads in and out. Again, I suspect they've thought of all of that. But to me, the Preakness is Pimlico, and Pimlico is the Preakness. There's no great answer. I wish I had one. In a perfect world, somebody would drop $500 million and you'd build a beautiful place, and that would be lovely for the neighborhood and everything else. But it isn't a perfect world, and I don't think that's going to happen. So at some point, something's going to have to give here.
All right, Bob Baffert going to win the race again. It was right around this time last year. Penn State played Maryland. I had you on, and you said, here's the horse, and I didn't bet the horse. So I got the pen out right now. I'm not going to let it get away from me here again. So what you got for me, Dick Jerardi?
Well, watch Saturday, Santa Anita, the San Felipe Stakes. Game winner and improbable. Probably 1-2 on anybody's list at the moment. And I know you'll be stunned at this. They are both trained by Bob Baffert.
I heard about improbable months ago. I think you may have given me him last year. but for the Derby this year and contenders and all of these prep races and stuff coming up to this, some other thoughts about how it works in the industry getting ready for Preakness. Would the horse racing industry embrace law, or would no one care outside of our city limits in Mare Pugh?
I saw a story. I think it was in the Sun the other day. A number of trainers, prominent trainers who run horses at Pimlico and Laurel, all were supporting the move. Graham Motion being one of them, who trains up at Fair Hill in northeastern part of Maryland, because they realized that Pimlico probably has just seen better days. It wouldn't be the same. Nothing would be the same. It's part of the charm of it is where it's held. It's just because it just is. And Pimlico, as crazy as it gets out there, they can't deal with it. People at the city of Baltimore understands how to run that event. It's fine. But yeah, I think people from out of town, look, if it's $1 million race, it's the Preakness, they're not going to not come because it's at Laurel, if that turns out to be the case.
Dick Jerardi is here. He is in Philadelphia. He is getting ready for all things Triple Crown as well as the Big Ten tournament. He calls the games for the Nittany Lions and Philly Tough and all that good stuff. Well, I hope I get to give you a hug on the third weekend of May. I'm not going to Kentucky Derby, but if you get down here for any preps or anything like that, we'll share a crab cake, Dick. Always good to have you on, bud.
Sounds good. Thank you, sir. Always happy to share a crab cake with you.
And I am not going to send my Sports First pin to you, but I will let you take a look at it and have a picture of it, okay?
Yeah, take a picture and text it to me. I need to see this.
And I'll take it with me and Mike Resigliano together. Resig and I will take it.
Better.
Right.
Better.
That way you'll and maybe if I get Jack Gibbons in, I'll do that too. There he goes. Really Dick Jerardi from the Philadelphia Daily News joining us here. You can find me out on the buyatoyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We come in crystal clear from anywhere in the world. Our children call it podcasting. I call it AM radio, but it's the buyatoyota.com audio vault. The morning newspaper ships digitally to your email inbox each and every morning. That's all brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com, where it's always $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life, as well as the aforementioned Maryland Jockey Club and Laurel Park, where they're racing this weekend. The new improved sports bar there. It is something to see. Get on down to Laurel, check it out. If you love the ponies, if you love the track, the Preakness thing will work itself out, but Laurel's going to be there either way, and that's where they run the races this weekend, so go check it out. Nasty at WNST.net, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live right here on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.